Beryl is just hours away from landfall along the Texas coast. We'll look at the impacts expected and if there's any other tropical threats across the Caribbean and the Bahamas for the week ahead. Your forecast starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. Good to see you on this late Sunday afternoon. Coming up, of course, all the latest information on Beryl as it makes its final approach towards the Texas coastline. We'll talk about the timing. We'll talk about the impacts expected coming up. Of course, I'm going to have the forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. We'll look at what's happening now and if there's any other tropical threats to keep an eye out for the week ahead. As we get this started, once this video is posted, our live radar stream will return. Live radar, live satellite, live track from the Hurricane Center. That will be through the evening hours, taking you up to our live stream, which I will be live tonight, tracking Beryl. You can start that coverage will start tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That is 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So join me tonight here at Meteo Mundo for our live stream, just like we did when Beryl was over Jamaica and the Windward Islands. And if you have interest in Texas, obviously you want to pay close attention. But also if you are just curious about real-time forecasting and hurricanes, this is a live stream for you because I promise you we are going to be watching Beryl go under some significant changes as it approaches the Texas coastline overnight. So let's get into what's been happening here throughout this Sunday. Beryl has struggled a lot. It's had a lot of drier air being ingested into the inner core, which has really kept it relatively weak. It has been a slow and steady deepening of the pressure at the center of circulation and no rapid strengthening as of yet. That being said, when you look at this satellite data right before I came on the air here to record this video, I want you to notice that we've had what looks like an improved radar signature. Now, we've had all this dry air getting ingested in, and again, it's really stopped Beryl from beginning to blossom. But just in the last couple of frames, look how that inner core is a lot more present now on our satellite presentation. And you can see thunderstorms there highlighted in those blacks and those whites really beginning to flare up on the southern and the eastern sides of Beryl. Now we have to see if those thunderstorms can wrap all the way around in 360 degrees around the inner core, which would allow even further and quicker strengthening. And that is still the forecast from the Hurricane Center. Despite the fact that Beryl somewhat has struggled on this Sunday, we're going to be getting into some extremely warm waters here near the Texas coast in the upper 80s to near 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The wind shear is quite little as well. And if this drier air that has been training into the center of Beryl is mitigated by all the thunderstorm activity that can encircle the eye, then more than likely we are going to have a fairly quick strengthening of Beryl. So that's what it looks like right now on satellite presentation. Let's take a look at what it looks like on radar presentation here. And again, obviously we're keeping an eye on everything for us here, but we can clearly see over the last 6 hours, again, now the radars are going to be shooting up into kind of the higher portions of Beryl from the coastline, but we're starting to see a little bit more tightening here. There was a void on the northeast side with a relatively dry air, but again, it's beginning to wrap back more, especially prominently on the south and the southwest sides. Now I want to show you this radar because we already have the feeder bands moving on shore well away from the center of circulation, all the way into the central sides of Louisiana. And of course, part of what's going to be happening here is there's going to be a flood threat. But with these spiraling bands, especially in the north and the northeast side of Beryl, will come an isolated tornado threat as well. So all of our friends along the Texas coastline into southwest Louisiana are going to be directly impacted with some heavy rainfall and even the opportunity for a few spin-up tornadoes as well. You can see the reds that are flashing here on our map. That is our hurricane warning. That's from Baffin Bay northward to the St. Louis Pass. There is also a tropical storm warning south of Baffin Bay to the south of the Rio Grande, to the mouth of the Rio Grande, and then from the St. Louis Pass to the Sabine Pass. That is where we also have a hurricane watch. That's going to be from the St. Louis Pass to Galveston Island. So it's a mixture of hurricane warnings and hurricane watches and tropical storm warnings. But at this point in time here, when I bring on the newest information on Beryl, and I'm just going to zoom it out here and then come back in, we can clearly see where we have the path from the Hurricane Center. Now, again, winds at this point in time, and let's take a look at it, are 65 miles an hour, all right? The pressure has only slowly fallen to 980 88 millibars. The movement is north-northwest at 12. That at the present time puts it 130 miles from Matagorda, Texas. All right. And you can see that the latest full pass from the hurricane reconnaissance aircraft showed a slow but steady drop in pressure as Beryl has been moving north here over the past couple of hours. Also note that all the maximum winds highlighted by those barbs and flags are on the northeast side. Those are the ones that are in red. So also to get that deeper convection and the quick lowering of the pressure at the center of circulation, Beryl's going to have to wrap those stronger winds around the entire inner core. All right. So again, it's been more slow and steady than anything else, but potentially wrapping up quicker. As we get into the forecast, I appreciate you guys liking this video, subscribing, of course, as well. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for finding all the ways to support us here at Meteo Mundo. But again, if you want the latest information on Beryl, thanks for clicking the like button. And again, thank you for subscribing here as well. So again, officially from the Hurricane Center, you can see it has it as a Category 1. And let me just be able to click this for you guys here real quick and then show you that. So we're going to get over here, and you can see that officially 85 mile an hour winds, but gusts that could be over 100 miles an hour. All right, and we're going to take a look at the forecast position here as we go through the next few hours, but the potential that we have a landfall here in the wee hours of our Monday morning, that looks very likely. Already some feeder bands coming into Houston. Would this be a very bad situation for Houston? Yes, it was, because if the eye comes up just to the western side of Houston, first of all, we're going to have a lot of water inundation, especially in Galveston Bay. But also, again, being just east of the eye, you're going to have more rotation with those storms and the opportunity for some, again, isolated tornadoes, even in the Houston metro area. Conditions should not be as bad, again, to the south and to the west of the eye, down towards Corpus Christi. And then the other big problem is the potential for some significant storm surge coming along with Beryl as well. Let's kind of start to get into the forecast here. So again, let me go back first of all to this area, because a couple of other things I just want to show you real quickly before we kind of sneak into all the forecast. Is just, again, you can see this water vapor imagery. You see that big old blue right there? That's the blow up of thunderstorms on the southwest side. And the winds have already been very significant. We've had nothing extreme, but our wind gusts here and some of the oil platforms and some of the buoys that are near Beryl are beginning to get into that, 45, 50 mile an hour range. So they're getting steadier. They're going to be getting stronger. We've already seen some lashing winds along the coastline. You can see how strong these winds are all the way into Louisiana. So let's get into a couple of the models that I want to show you here that we're going to get into the timing of the system. So I'm going to switch over to the HRRR model. And I think it has a relatively good idea of what's going to be happening with Beryl. And again, with the HRRR model, this is going to be an updated hourly thing. So that's why if you guys join me overnight here, starting again at 10 p.m. Eastern time, 9 o'clock Central, there's going to be a lot of real-time forecasting going on. Because first of all, I think Beryl is going to be undergoing rapid changes here a few hours before landfall. We've talked about it before as well, how that has happened with several storms, but also we're going to be getting hourly updates from all of these high resolution models as well. So let me just take off a little bit more of the information, just going to be a little bit clearer to see. So again, this is the latest run I've got here of the HRRR model. And again, the HRRR might be underdoing Beryl's kind of inner core and what it's going to look like here, but I think the track and the timing is pretty close. So we're going to really start to see the northern side of the eye wall here begin to impact places like Port Lacava and Palacios and Bay City and areas off towards the east like Freeport as we get towards the midnight hour Eastern time. Of course, that's going to be 11 o'clock Central time. So for our friends in Texas, you back this up an hour because that timestamp is Eastern time. As we get into the 1 to 2 o'clock hour Eastern time, or just after midnight, that's when we have the potential for landfall. Here on the HRRR model, it would be sometime around 2:30 a.m. Eastern time, 1:30 Central time. And again, moving in, and you can see some of the impacts it could potentially be bringing towards the Houston area. Obviously, again, a ton of water on the northern and the eastern side of the center of circulation, with some extremely heavy rainfall and an isolated tornado threat as well. That's what the HRRR model looks like. This is the HAFS model. Now, it's not sustained when it's pressure, but it shows you a landfall near those same areas at 1 a.m., okay? And that is going to be 1 a.m. Central time. And then for the European model, 3 a.m. and about the same location. So I think we're beginning to narrow this time frame, and we're beginning to narrow the landfall area, right? We're shrinking this down as we're now just, hours and hours away from the actual landfall of Beryl or overnight. It is going to be a nighttime landfall, okay? So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to, have the day cams where we'll be able to see this coming on shore. It's going to be noisy, it's going to be dark, it's going to be windy, there's going to be a lot of lightning as well. So again, when we look at the potential impacts for Beryl, they have actually gone up a bit, and it's not going to surprise me if the Hurricane Center elevates some of these criteria even just before landfall. Again, Beryl could be going under a huge transition here just a few hours before it actually moves inland. Sustained winds of 85 miles an hour. Again, we're at 65 now, so we're already expecting at least a 20-mile-per-hour climb in winds to a Category 1. That is the official forecast. Gusts to 100 miles an hour near that center of circulation. Now we have a storm surge impact of potentially 4 to 7 feet, and we do have a storm surge warning I'll talk about in a second. Rainfall totals, that could be very significant. 5 to 10 inches of rain, locally up to 15. And some of that heaviest rain could be well inland from the coastline as well, as Beryl begins to slow down in East Texas. Flash and urban flooding will come along for the ride. Large swells, dangerous surf and rip currents, and I've already mentioned the possibility of some isolated tornadoes. So here is your storm surge forecast. Notice from Matagorda Bay north to the San Luis Pass, that is 4 to 7 feet storm surge at its peak. We now have a storm surge warning for the north entrance of the Padre Island National Seashore to Sabine Pass, including Corpus Christi Bay, Matagorda Bay, and Galveston Bay. I think this is unfortunately going to be one of those things, and I mentioned it in the last couple of videos, that will be the more widespread impact because of Beryl's kind of movement to the shoreline of Texas and the orientation of the shoreline here just being a little bit more elongated. That's going to allow a lot of water to pile up. And look, even into the southwest side of Louisiana, there could be a bit of a storm surge water inundation as well, 1 to 3 feet. Not as significant, obviously, but even southwest Louisiana could be impacted with the storm surge as well. So again, that's the latest information on Beryl. I'm going to show you the newest satellite. This is updating in real time for us here. And again, we're going to wait and closely see what happens with this convection. If you watch the radar live stream after this video, you'll see in real time. I'll be on there. I'll probably throw in the chat kind of my updated reactions as we head towards the start of me coming back on here at 10 o'clock. But again, this is going to be a lot of just keeping a very close eye on Beryl, all of what's happening here in real time and adjusting accordingly. And the Hurricane Center is doing that as well. They have hurricane reconnaissance aircraft going in and out of Beryl almost constantly. So we will be getting a lot of new data on Beryl in the short term, very rapidly as well. And again, we'll be watching the radar, we'll be watching the feeder bands coming on. Other thing I want to show you here real quickly, I think I started off with it, but this is a really neat product as well. This is kind of combines the satellite and the high resolution visibility as well. And again, it's just really clear to see that the structure of Beryl has become better defined in just the last hour. And these are your wind gusts. It's the same thing you're going to see on our live stream. Okay. Let's get into the rest of the forecast here across our area. And again, I appreciate all of my friends across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. So we're going to start off in the western side of the Caribbean. Now look, we have what's left over of 96L, still kind of that axis of moisture moving off towards the west. It has thankfully been a drier day in Jamaica. Also good news, got reports of that all of the cruise ship ports in Jamaica have been reopened, and cruise ships should start beginning to move back into Jamaica here in about a week or so. But obviously that's good news, and we hope our friends are beginning their cleanup efforts and the recovery efforts from Beryl as well. We're starting to see some rain move away from the Cayman Islands, and again, really concentrated over portions of Central America, southwest sides of the Caribbean, some extremely heavy rainfall moving back into portions of Belize, good thunderstorms as well. Really good lightning, San Pedro, Belize City, Dangriga, San Ignacio, inland Belmopan, moving all off towards the west. We've had a few storms work their way up towards Cozumel and Tulum, but again, avoiding Cancun at the hour. But this is that moisture axis from what was left over of Invest 96L. We've also seen a few storms fire up here, but I think the Bahamas are okay with that because it's been extremely hot. It's been extremely humid in this area. So from Abaco, portions of Eleuthera, at least close, New Providence, Andros, an isolated shower or storm, a little bit more concentrated over Abaco for today. And then we have this very interesting feature here out in the Atlantic. It's not going to wrap up into anything, but it might try and pull some moisture back over towards Bermuda. Now, we haven't had a lot of rain today in portions of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. We mentioned how we'd be drying out a bit, and that has been the case. We'll see the weak tropical wave coming in and improving the rain chances here beginning tomorrow, but it's been hot, it's been dry. It's the same situation here for our friends in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and a lot of the Lesser Antilles as well, from Anguilla towards Montserrat and Guadeloupe. Now you get a little bit farther to the south, and here comes our tropical wave, right? It's not going to become anything organized, but it is a nice surge of moisture. So for Dominica and Martinique and St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados back into some showers and storms on this Sunday afternoon. Again, through the Grenadines and Grenada, we've had a few pass through for our friends in Trinidad and Tobago. Again, a little bit more concentrated right now, a little bit farther north of TNT. And again, this is going to be fairly fast moving. So your chances are today, and then we dry out tomorrow. This will move towards Nueva Esparta over there. The ABC Islands tomorrow could catch a couple of showers as well. And eventually this moisture actually should kind of elongate itself and bring portions of the greater Antilles a better chance for a few showers and storms starting tomorrow as well. So let's get into it. And as I'm doing so, again, thank you so much for liking this video. If you haven't subscribed to Meteo Mundo and you want the latest on tropical systems like Beryl or your latest forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, you know I appreciate you subscribing. Thanks for all the support that we've had lately here at Meteo Mundo. It really means a lot. Hope to see a lot of you for our live stream Beryl tonight. Again, if you just really want what it's like to kind of now time forecast a hurricane as it moves on shore, it's going to be interesting. We're going to have a lot of data to look into. So I'll be keeping an eye on the main development region here in the Atlantic. Again, this time of the year, that's normally not the case, but we saw Beryl develop in this area, of course, last week. At this point in time, a more vigorous wave coming off of the West African coast will bear watching late next week and into next weekend. But at this point in time, it's not going to be making a closer approach to our area. Otherwise, again, we're looking a little bit drier here overall. Now, I've mentioned it. This is the GFS model. I just want to show you down to the Windward Islands that will begin to dry out. But the GFS hasn't done as good handling some of this tropical moisture as the NAM has lately. So I'm going to switch over and show you the NAM and just, again, talk about the fact that places like San Juan and Santo Domingo and our friends in St. Kitts and Nevis and Anguilla will all start to see a little bit better rain chance beginning to work their way in tomorrow. Obviously, we've had some Sahara dust and the haze has been a factor. It's been very hot. It's been very humid. We can actually use some of this rain that I expect to come back in. So as we get into tomorrow, we're going to start to see that. Now, again, it's not going to last very long. This wave will have some fairly fast forward speed and some good progression a bit with it as well. So don't expect the rain to stick around for more than a day or two as far as a more amplified pattern for us here. So what that means is that we will have good movement east to west, and we'll get some of this rain to move over Hispaniola again. Jamaica could dry out or use a little bit dry weather. Some folks could probably use a shower to cool things down. Not expecting a lot of rain in Jamaica until at least Tuesday, with a few more showers expected on Wednesday and Thursday as well. But again, overall, we're not going to have any development in the Caribbean out of this, at least over the next 5 days. We do have a big old slug of moisture coming back into Central America, so Panama and Costa Rica, and of course we still have our Central American gyre, which continues to spin in moisture, so this will still be overall the wettest area. And then we'll start to see some rain chances beginning to improve back into portions of the Bahamas as well, kind of just drifting in more moisture from the north. So at least a better opportunity by midweek as well. And again, watching this very interesting feature kind of spin around, try and get a little bit closer to Bermuda, but overall, again, not expecting significant impacts from that. If I switch over and just show you the winds real fast, again, a couple of things we can note here from the NAM model. Obviously, we can keep a close eye on what's going to be happening with Beryl. This is going to be a wind maker even close to Dallas. It will then begin to bend north and east into Arkansas and portions of the Tennessee River Valley up there. You can see that moving through the Tennessee Valley. It'll dissipate, but again, it'll be a little bit blustery there, fairly far north into the United States. Otherwise, again, we'll just see trade winds kick back in, and we're going to have some stronger winds here throughout the Caribbean, especially the ABC Islands, and that's going to push that tropical moisture fairly quickly from east to west. But as of note, again, that feature south of Bermuda doesn't wrap up. Not expecting any tropical activity out of that. All right, friends, that's it. That's the newest information on Beryl and the rest of the forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. Again, I'll see you tonight starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time. We'll track Beryl's final approach into the Texas coastline. Again, the official forecast is for Beryl to be a hurricane. We'll just have to see how intense Beryl could get in those last few hours before landfall. Friends, I'll see you then. Make sure you follow us across all of our social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video, and I really appreciate all of the pictures and videos we've gotten lately. It's mymeteomundo@gmail.com. Till tonight, friends, have a great one, and I'll see you then.